So, what do we have here? It's a human, ma'am. That much I can see. What is he doing there? Lying on the floor, unconscious. Ma'am. Yes, thank you. But why? What happened to him? We are not sure, ma'am. We dare not come within 10 steps of a human. Rumors have it they often try to procreate with anything that moves. Are you purposely surrounding yourself with idiots to feel better? The Saltaki consul exclaimed as she turned to look at General Vilkster, Chief of Staff of the Saltaki Uniformed Forces. Listen, it's 4:20 in the morning. Just 2 minutes ago, 5 soldiers tore down the door of my room and dragged me here in a rush. The last thing I need right now is you shouting at me. Consul Doria looked left and right for anyone whose expression did not increase her urge to slap someone's face. Since such an individual was extremely rare and not at hand, she limited herself to forcefully closing her eyes with her palms. She let out a loud groan, then a dental click. Be patient, she murmured to herself while pacing back and forth. Why is that human lying unconscious on the floor at 4:20 in the morning? And why was I called here? 4:22, ma'am. The consul's eyelids grew closer as she inhaled copious air through the nostrils. Her every nerve contracted as she raised her right, dominant arm up in the air. She got close, within striking distance. Then, like a mighty sentence from the heavens, she unleashed a godly rage. You, get me coffee. But ma'am, I'm a Lieutenant Dash. Go get her some damn coffee, for fuck's sake, and bring some for me as well, the general ordered, preventing bloodshed. He then strode up to the enraged female, still breathing heavily under her nose. He pointed at another unfortunate soldier and demanded some explanations. The sentries stumbled upon him while on duty. We have already called for xenobiologists. We fear he has been poisoned. Poisoned? Who would dare? Within the premises of the royal palace. The chief of staff said just as he gulped down the admittedly terrible cup of coffee. Wait. How do you know he has been poisoned even though you have not gotten closer? It's the smell, ma'am. Hearing this, the diplomat swiftly walked to the figure on the ground. With just a single whiff, she wrinkled her nose and started waving her hand to dispel the foul odor as she ran back behind the formation of soldiers. That stench! It's alcohol. Who could have done such a terrible thing? Someone really wanted this human dead. We need to rush him to the hospital. Quickly call an air ambulance. Yes, ma'am. Agreeing with the last statement, Vilkster nodded in approval. He then looked back at one of the sentries. Who is he, anyway? That's a formal dress if I've seen one. Sir. He is a guest of the king, sir. By the gods, call the ambulance again. Tell them to make haste. Yes, ma'am. He must be an important individual. We must treat this matter accordingly. Oh yes, sir, I believe so. I think I saw him during the royal ball. The lieutenant replied as he brought another tray filled with coffee cups. So? He is Grand Admiral Wyrene, of the Human Astral Navy. Fucking what? Yes, one of the 2 officers commanding the 3rd Star Corps of the human military. How important is he, broadly speaking? Oh, very much so, ma'am. A Star Corps is a fully independent large strategic formation composed of Navy and Army units under a joint command. In this particular case, the 3rd Star Fleet and 3rd Star Army. The 3rd Star Corps' flexibility and effectiveness were highly praised by military analysts during the human intervention in the Coalition-Union conflict, to such a degree that many described it as the most aggressive and efficient fighting force of the last 100 years. You mean to tell me that this guy here controls on behalf of the human Senate a horde of war-thirsty apes? So it would seem, ma'am. Recall the ambulance. Tell it to stand down. We can't allow this to be known to the public. Yes, ma'am. Right. Awesome. Do me a favor and leave us some space to talk it out. Will you? As the lieutenant and his men stepped away from the 2, the consul and the chief of staff stood alone before the senseless human. They tried thinking of a way out of it, growing desperate by the minute. The fuck do we do now, Vilkster? Stop looking at me like it's my fault. What do you want me to do? Give him a passionate kiss to wake him up? If word of this reaches Earth, we are screwed. Can't we hide him or something? Hide him? How? Where? The 11th battle group is currently orbiting this turbo shithole of a planetoid. Who do you think will be the prime suspects if something happens? I don't know, Vilkster. You are the chief of staff. Can't we blow them up while they are scratching their ballsacks to buy some time before reinforcements arrive? I'm sure I could rally some support within the galactic community. My beauty is pretty popular around the galaxy. Doria, have you gone mad? Do you really wish to be railed in the back by hundreds of magnetic accelerator cannons that badly? We stand no chance against a single Terran battle group, let alone one of their star corps. And there's 26 of those. As the discussion continued, a group of doctors appeared from a door at the end of a comically long corridor. Spurred by the emergency and the soldiers' bayonets, they ran toward the two. Noticing their approach, the lieutenant pointed at the group. Sir, ma'am, Dr. Dim's team has a riv dash. I have my own eyes, thank you. Breathless and panting, the doctors immediately got busy. They surrounded the human and like a secretive cult started whispering enigmatic phrases into each other's ears. Some moments of anxious wait later, the 5 physicians fell silent and, after nodding to each other, they took out a whiteboard on wheels from God knows where and formed a line. As if they were about to present a poorly made PowerPoint, they elect a speaker through the ancient ritual of passing clipped notes around until one gives in. After an extensive group observation, we have come to a consensus, contributed by all in an equal manner, that given the subject's state, as noted by the team, our investigation was lead to suspect that, reaching a unanimous conclusion. Please, do something about it, Doria murmured, looking at the lieutenant. He stepped up, snatched the files from one of the doctor's hands, and cleared his throat. This sheet is blank. A loud collective groan came from the audience as the consul and the general rolled their eyes and let loose of their stiff posture. Some threats and names were all Dr. Dim needed for a concise report. The Grand Admiral has ingested large quantities of alcohol. Doria needed to be tackled and physically lifted by 2 soldiers to prevent her from grabbing the unholstered handgun of Vilkster. Receptive to the situation, the doctors resumed the circle formation around the human to continue their observations. We are unfamiliar with human physiology, but we have reached out for a second opinion. We managed to contact a distinguished board of medical experts easily accessible on what humans call the internet. What did they say? Dozens of replies came within a few minutes, but we focused on the one with the most interactions. It said, and I quote, "He will be fine." What? That's it? What about the other answers? I'm afraid some experts might have misinterpreted the situation as a popular reply said, and I quote, "Give him hovercar keys immediately." The audience limited themselves to nodding in confusion. Another such answer to our question made us realize how limited our medical knowledge must be, as none of us understood what they meant when one luminary addressed us as, and I quote, "Space and I dash. Sir, big trouble." A guard interrupted, screaming and running towards the group, now seated on plastic foldable chairs as a consequence of the tiring speech. "What is it, Private?" annoyedly growled the lieutenant, interrupted from investigating accurate human translations and interpretations. "Human Praetorian Guards, sir. They are looking for the Admiral and suspect him to be here. They threaten to tear down the door if we do not let them in. Lieutenant, go buy us some time. As much as possible." Left alone, Doria and Vilkster start arguing in front of the line of doctors, who do not dare to utter a word. "The fuck we do now, Doria? Any ideas? Just say we found him like this. That's exactly what happened." "Yeah, sure. Of course, that's what you would say. The only problem is that, unlike what happens most of the time, you will not take it up the ass for this. I will. I am in charge of whoever is in charge of the bastard who had to keep an eye on him." "Oh, come on. That's 3 grades of separation from you. I think that you, as a diplomat, should go out there and explain that it is not our fault that one of the most important people in the human military has his belly full of a Tier 1 poison." "Yeah, very convincing. You would excel as an ambassador, really. With you as our speaker, I'm sure only half of the galaxy would declare us an insult to intelligence and evolution the second you open your mouth. Listen, instead of blaming each other, can't we find someone else to hold responsible? You said it earlier, Vilkster. Whoever we pick, it will somehow be our fault as the superiors of their superiors, be it the barely legal sexy teenager ordered to escort him around or the outer space temperature IQ hunk of muscles ordered to protect him. Which, I might add, are nowhere to be found. TCH. They are probably hiding in a washroom having fun. Actually, that's perfect, Doria. Since both of them should have been with him at all times, they could be blamed for this. The best outcome would be for humans to be somehow used to alcohol since their puberty as a result of a socio-economic context that encourages possibly detrimental group behavior to provide the subject with social status and acceptance by its peers. A practice that, instilled since youth, can develop into a more or less severe abuse of such substance, possibly causing the subject to become addicted. But that's just too unlikely to be true. Okay, whatever you say. If the humans demand anything, we will tell them to ask Lady Gawk Gawk and Mr. But what about these idiots? Said the consul, pointing at the row of doctors who happened to listen to their conversation. With an annoyed look, the general called over one of the soldiers. Understanding the situation, the doctors turned around. They ran for the door at the end of the comically long corridor, hoping to reach safety. Go kill them for me, will you? Moments after the door at the end of the comically long corridor shut close, as the soldiers left to pursue the witnesses, another door on the opposite side of the comically long corridor was blown wide open as a group of human military policemen made their way in, followed by the lieutenant, still trying to entertain them. There he is, sir. Once they got closer, a man in a sharp navy uniform stepped forward. He looked down at the admiral with a disappointed look. Petrified, the chief of staff was about to fold and spill out everything that had happened thus far. Fortunately for him, the human spoke first. Grand Admiral Wyrene, Captain Wrath, reporting. We are here to pick you up. The words did not seem to reach the officer on the ground. The captain let out a loud sigh and then looked around. The men behind him gave him the classic lance corporal shrug as he turned to face them. This damned. I guess we have no other choice. He whispered to himself as he forcefully massaged his nasal bone. Military police. What are you doing here? Are you perhaps drunk? Shouted the Navy officer with all the power he could muster. To which, as if taken by instincts and innate fear, the admiral's body, as his mind was in no condition to coordinate his movements, jumped up and cumbersomely started to move away from the origin of the sound. In silence, the MPs escorting the captain stood firm as they witnessed the admiral attempt to open a window, unsuccessfully. Calm and collected, with a tired, faint smile, Wrath noted the time and gestured to the soldier after 30 seconds to apprehend the man. Go get him for me, will you? He then turned to the Saltakian officials and greeted them with a warm yet warning grin. We need the admiral for the monthly report to the Senate in 2 hours. I trust you will keep this a secret, as it would greatly impact our public image otherwise. Please understand that alcohol is the only thing keeping Grand Admiral Wyrene sane and productive. Oh yes, absolutely. Not a word, right, Doria? Nothing happened. What are you talking about? Did anything happen, Vilkster? I was not even here. How curious. For me to be awake this late at night. I must be dreaming. With a slight smirk, Captain Wrath turned around, pacing behind the soldiers carrying the admiral away. I'm afraid there might be a lot of alcohol spilled around. Be wary not to slip. As the humans left the room, Doria, Vilkster the lieutenant, and a few Saltakian soldiers stared at each other in confusion. Let's all pretend the last 30 minutes never happened. Because if anyone fuck you, Vilkster. Don't drag me into this. The hell you mean now, Doria? He said, you need to be careful. How was he not referring to you as well? You were mere steps from him? Yes, but he said, you while he pointed there, I was here. You stupid bitch, you saw the whole thing. Like everyone else in the room. How are you exempt? I, unlike you, am a consul, a diplomat. Therefore, I have diplomatic immunity. Let's see if you still have an immune system after I'm done with you. The two had not realized that the other Saltakians had already left the premises, possibly to reach the nearest spaceport. Meanwhile, the humans were sitting next to a landing pad. As they waited for the shuttle to land, the sober officer spoke on the radio. First Class Star Captain W. Wrath here. We have the Grand Admiral. Any progress there? Copy, sir. We are still searching for the Grand General. The last time she was seen was at a casino. She fled the scene after betting a light cruiser on green and winning. Colonel Oscar and his men are currently in a rush to find her before the mob's goons. But the city is quite large, and given her expert qualifications, this could take a while. In less than 2 hours, I want her ass in the conference room. Make it happen. Yes, sir. Every single fucking month, murmured the captain as he lit up a cigarette.